and become the world champion. The tournament's about to get started. Trainers are set and ready for round one, Rosemary.
And round number one, we have a doozy for you that we are bringing to you on broadcast. We have Adam Sherfui versus Shohei Kimura, our reigning world champion.
I literally can't sit still. I am so excited for this match to be able to pick things up exactly where we left them off in Yokohama, to be able to see Shohei Kimura here.
And Shohei has also competed at other events this season, competed at the European International Championships, got a bit of experience there, but has also done very well in online tournaments leading up to the World Championships. We're focusing on Adam Sherfui, though, right now. Got a top 16 at Dortmund and Bologna this year, as well as a top 32 at Utrecht. So really having a fantastic season for 2024.
Yep, lots of top cuts, but wants to go all the way and get number one. And this is the first hurdle you have to overcome. Taking a little look at the teams, we've got a really interesting balance core here. We've got the classic Urshifu, Incineroar, and Rillaboom that give you your Fire, Water, Grass core staples, as well as Calyrex Shadow Rider, a Pokemon that is so
Incineroar, that's going to be huge.
Speedy and can deal a huge amount of damage with Astral Barrage.
But I think what's going to be very defining characteristic of the Shadow Rider Calyrex teams is going to be the held item that they have, as well as their moveset. On Adams, you can see that he has a kind of a Terra Fairy with the Draining Kiss that has been very popular in terms of like North America and Europe, but he also is holding a Covert Cloak, which means that he's a little bit more kind of defensively focused, has the Calm Mind as well to boost up those special defenses.
Exactly, and you know, being able to have that kind of set up can give you so much momentum, but you have to get through the reigning world champion first of all. Shohei Kimura running a very similar team, again running that Calyrex Shadow Rider, but it's definitely more on the offensive here. Having that nasty plot to get a boost to your special attack will make those Astral Barrages and the Psychics as well for that single target damage deal so much, particularly if you get some of those Grimnade boosts rolling as well.
And if it's not going to be the Grimnade boost, you can give yourself those boosts manually with the nasty plot. So on both sides, actually, we have Calyrex Shadow Riders that are very capable being able to boost up their own special attack and try to deal out damage that way. But it's about what Shohei has actually ended up piecing around this team that makes it so interesting. Instead of an Assault Vest Rillaboom like Adam has, this one actually has Clear Amulet. Despite that, no Protect, so not really a way that it's going to be able to keep itself safe, but you've got some very powerful attacks alongside that.
And I love the Amoonguss as well, the adaptations here. We've often seen Amoonguss running something like the Rocky Helmet to be a nice switch in for the Surging Strikes of Urshifu, but this one's actually running the Mental
Sherfui and Shohei Kimura.
Let's see the sparks fly on that battlefield as we kick off the Pokemon World Championships 2024. Out here on the field for Adam, it is the Calyrex Shadow Rider paired up with that Rillaboom. And on the opposing side, a tried and tested duo in the form of that Incineroar and the Amoonguss. There's a lot of fake out potential on the field right now.
There is. We have the Rillaboom and the Incineroar that are both going to be packing that move, but it's going to be that Rillaboom that's going to be taking that attack drop there from the Incineroar's Intimidate on the other side. Right away, though, the fact that Adam is led with the Shadow Rider Calyrex, he has a lot of options on the table to just kind of bully through these Pokemon on Shohei's side with pure offense.
And I think as well, you want to try and remove that Amoonguss from play before it can maybe go for some spores and start slowing down the Pokemon in your team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that being the target here. Something like maybe even just a big damage coming through from an Astral Barrage. Terrestrialization coming straight out on the field. This is what we want to see, some sparkling in the arena as the Calyrex Shadow Rider goes into Terra Fairy here.
The Terra Fairy is going to be so nice because Shohei's Incineroar actually does have knockoff. It's not going to be carrying a fire-type attack like we normally see with something like the Flare Blitz. And so this Terra Fairy is going to be a very nice way to be able to protect itself there as Adam starts to get set up here with those Calm Mind boosts. Knows that the endgame right now could be Shadow Rider Calyrex versus Shadow Rider Calyrex.
Honestly, love to see this. The parting shot comes through. We'll be able to lower those drops here, but the synergy support from that Rillaboom, making sure that the Calyrex was in a safe position to get that Calm Mind off, doesn't have to worry about a potential spore, as well as the fact that the Fairy Terror supports it against that Incineroar. The one nice thing for Shohei here is you have the utility to pivot something in. You've intimidated the Rillaboom, and now you can bring the Rillaboom of your very own in to now apply some pressure.
And now that you're not a ghost type, you are vulnerable to fake out. That is a move that this Rillaboom has that you could be able to help actually try to get that fake out. But that would be nice if there weren't for that Covert Cloak. And that's why Adam has made the adjustment to have a little bit more of a defensive item rather than an offensive component.
It's definitely a good trick to have up your sleeve in a meta where we do have a lot of fake out on the field, particularly if you do, as you've said, have to give up your ghost typing. You don't want to leave yourself vulnerable.
Absolutely. So no fake out on the field here to try to shut down the Shadow Rider Calyrex, but that is not the same for the Rillaboom across the way. There's no fake out though. It's just going to go for some type of attack as we see the Astral Barrage Barrage hit into both of these Pokemon. But thanks to that drop that we ended up seeing there from that parting shot actually did help this Rillaboom survive up until the point that it got knocked out to the U-turn.
Yeah, Rillaboom doesn't do many things better than Revenge, but it got intimidated, so it's like, I'm going to do a critical hit here with this U-turn and be able to KO the opposing Rillaboom while also enabling a little bit of pivoting on my trainer's side. You can see the Pokemon in the back here for Adam, bringing Pokemon in like the Roaring Moon that's going to have the potential to, help balance out a mirror match as we're seeing here, as well as a powerhouse like that Urshifu. It's taking us time to think about it, though.
Yes, I mean, because that's the thing, right? You really want this Roaring Moon on the other side of something like that Shadow Rider Calyrex, just to know that you're not going to end up wasting a booster energy as well. We don't know what that's going to end up amplifying, because we could see an attack or a speed. But look at the Spore. Urshifu, kind of like an unfortunate target for that, knowing that maybe Shohei was kind of thinking that this Rillaboom was actually going to disappear from the field. What a call.
Yeah, really nice to be able to catch that there, because that could have gone very sideways if the Rillaboom decided to stay in play. But it now allows Shohei to bring the Calyrex Shadow Rider on his side of the field into fruition here. One of the interesting things now is when you take a look at the Calyrex Shadow Rider on Adam's side, it's not going to be able to KO the Amoonguss this turn with another Astral Barrage, which must be tempting to go into with the Calyrex on the field on Shohei's side.
It is, but Adam is just going to remove this Urshifu from the field and not going to try to get these wake-up turns starting to stack up. Instead, going to switch in this Roaring Moon, which we can get a chance to see what this booster energy is going to give a boost to, and it should be the speed that we are seeing here for this Roaring Moon.
Yes, and this is what Adam needs here to be able to apply a lot of pressure. You can go for something like a Tailwind, in the next turn once Roaring Moon's allowed to move and get the speed boost up, or you could always go for your boosted acrobatics now that you've lost your item and try and remove this Amoonguss from play. The Dark Terrestrialization, though, very interesting onto that opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex. That's something that the Draining Kiss is going to be eyeing up.
It would absolutely do that, but I think it's going to be a great call because you know that you might actually be able to survive that based on how you're trained, which provides a Shohei this perfect opportunity to go for the nasty plot here. That's going to be +2 to this Shadow Rider Calyrex's special attack on his side.
This is where things get very interesting, though, because we don't know exactly how these Calyrexes are going to match up in terms of speed. Depending if that speed boost is enough for the Roaring Moon, it can always try and get a Tailwind up and kind of remove the fear of which Calyrex is going to go first and then apply a huge amount of damage.
You can see why this Dark Terror is so good just to go for it regardless, because you know that this Roaring Moon also has a super effective Dark type attack with that knockoff, so you just want to make sure that you are terrestrializing in a defensive way to also make sure that you can withstand one of those attacks.
But the Nasty Plot boost will be huge damage out here on the field. We're actually going to see Amoonguss use this regenerator ability to get a little bit of HP back, come back onto the field a little bit later on to threaten on the field as the Incineroar throwing another Intimidate down. This is nice against that opposing Roaring Moon, but of course we know that the Calyrex isn't going to worry about that at all.
No, but that is going to help with this knockoff as you go into the Incineroar. Take a look at that. It should be doing more damage knowing that this Incineroar is actually holding an item. And that is such a little amount of damage. So the Incineroar able to tank that, also provide that attack drop. And now this is time for this Shadow Rider Calyrex and Shohei side to go. That is an Astral Barrage into both targets, not necessarily securing a knockout. But you can see here on the return of this, that's very little damage.
Yes, the defensive Terror type really working out there for Shohei. I have to say, though, the Roaring Moon going first in that match, very interesting to see the speed come through. But as you mentioned as well, little damage from that knockoff thanks to the Intimidate. And now that you also do not have a Ghost Calyrex opposing you, that knockoff is really not going to be doing too much. If I was Adam now, I'd probably be thinking, hey, my Roaring Moon isn't dealing damage, let's use it for some support. Get a Tailwind up, ensure that my Calyrex is going to be able to outspeed and try and get some damage. But even then, the Calyrex is underwhelming in the pressure it's giving out.
You really want to try to get these Combine boosts up. At the very least, you know that your special defense is going to be a little bit bolstered, but because of that parting shot earlier, you're still at a neutral special attack, not able to secure a knockout. It means that you aren't able to get that engine up and running to snowball that special attack stat.
Want to get the Grimnaze rolling through, and it looks like Shohei might be within range of getting one in this particular turn. A defensive play by the Roaring Moon as the Amoonguss join the field here, so the Protect coming through as the Protect come through as well. Adam playing very defensively this turn.
Yeah, you saw Shohei actually go for a little bit of a pop-off here. Was kind of hoping maybe that he'd be able to get some type of attack off onto this Shadow Rider Calyrex, but unfortunately not going to be able to do the job just yet. This Amoonguss still being on the field is so problematic. There isn't really a great way for Adam to remove it at the moment. Maybe the acrobatics from this Roaring Moon could help out just to be able to deal that super effective damage, knowing that the Terra has already been used on Shohei's side, but that Intimidate, is it really going to be able to do enough here?
You're going to need another critical hit, I think, to be able to get through that Amoonguss, particularly at full health. And you also have the utility of your Shohei just to switch in the Incineroar again later and throw another Intimidate down. Amoonguss doing what it does best, providing a little bit of protection, going for that Rage Powder and drawing in all of these attacks. But no, Roaring Moon going, I'm not targeting you, I'm going for the Tailwind. Let's get the speed on my side and see what my partner can do.
But you can see why this is so effective, because you do actually have that Draining Kiss heading into the Amoonguss. So the Rage Powder able to redirect it away from a super effective hit into that Dark Terra Shadow Rider Calyrex, as Shohei continues to go all out on the offense at a +2 special attack. He's plenty to get a double knockout. That's going to be a sharp special attack increase. That's a +4 for this Shadow Rider Calyrex on Shohei's side.
This Calyrex is mean on Shohei's side. It's got all the boost, all the damage, and it's got the support. The one thing Adam has got going, though, is that Tailwind support, but whether it's going to be enough.
Well, I don't think it can be. You've got the Urshifu.
How do you stop it?
It hasn't been able to take one of its mandatory turns, so there's no opportunity for it to actually wake up on this next turn that it hits the field. You are able to buy yourself a little bit of time. You do have the Fake Out here from this Rillaboom that could help, and you do have the Assault Vest. So there is going to be a little bit of defensive capability from this Rillaboom to try to withstand some of these Astral Barrage, but you're +4.
The Assault Vest, I think, is going to be null and void at this point. The thing as well is you've got the Urshifu. You might love to be able to go for a close combat into that Dark-type Calyrex here, but you have to worry about the Amoonguss. You can't even taunt it because you have to taunt it twice to be able to shut down its redirectional support with Rage Powder, particularly when Incineroar just keeps doing the hokey pokey and getting in and out here and throwing these Intimidates down against these physical attackers. Urshifu taking a nap. Wake up, it's Worlds!
Wake up, it is Worlds. That Wood Hammer, though, it's going to take one more of those to be able to actually get the damage down onto the Shadow Rider Calyrex, knock it out. But before it's able to do that, it's going to have to take this Astral Barrage. It is just going to be a one-hit knockout there onto that Rillaboom, essentially, with the Focus Sash allowing this Urshifu to hang on. But now this Incineroar is freshly on the field. There's another Fake Out in hand. And Shohei is going to shore up this very first game of this Best of 3.
Honestly, how many boosts does this Calyrex want to be able to get right now? I think if you're the opponent,
6.
you're going to be haunted by this image forever. Definitely a way for Shohei to kick off the tournament, and Adam knowing, hey, game 1's over, let's reset, let's focus, and go to game 2.
Yes. Wow, what a phenomenal performance though there by Shohei.
Yeah.
It was tough because at the very beginning, you take a look at Adam being able to get that calm mindset up early on by that Shadow Rider Calyrex. Felt like it was going to have a little bit more staying power with that special defense boost and the special attack as well. Okay, if you're able to stack up a couple more of those, then maybe you really have a good thing going for you.
I agree. I think the way that Adam was able to kind of get that calm mind up, put him into a good position, but Shohei just read him like a book, was able to go for that parting shot, not only then kind of negate the attack boost that it got, but then allow more pivoting in and out, particularly when it went for the Terra Fairy. It was then susceptible to, you know, some damage coming through as well. I think for me, the key thing is that Dark Terror on Shohei's Calyrex, because that meant that it was just so resistant to a lot of the damage that the Calyrex on Adam's side was putting through. Yes, he could go for the Draining Kiss, but just due to the low impact it was dealing out, I think you're going to have to do at least 2 to be able to get that knockout.
That's the thing, right? Is it's important to keep in mind that the base power of Draining Kiss is still very low.
Yeah.
And a lot of the instances that we've been able to see a Terra Fairy Shadow Rider Calyrex actually get a big knockout with Draining Kiss, it's already had a couple of special attack boosts stacked up to be able to try to get a knockout like that. So I think it's gonna be tough. Shohei was ready for that calm mind. You saw the parting shot immediately. That was a great way to pivot out the Incineroar, also keeping that special attack stat in check and allowed Shohei the opportunity to actually get his own out on the field. He had that nasty plot. He knew exactly when to be able to position that Shadow Rider Calyrex so he could get the nasty plot and just get more boosts.
Yep, and as you saw there as well, I think the Amoonguss was instrumental in that game 1. Getting the Spore down onto what was the Rillaboom slot and being able to catch that Urshifu just meant one of the big powerhouses on Adam's side was completely null and void. And you needed that close combat to be able to deal with the opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex, which is not something you say every day, considering it's traditionally a ghost type. But being able to apply that pressure, even with something like the Surging Strikes, would have been really, really nice. My question, however, yes, you got to get through the Calyrex, but how are you getting through this Amoonguss? I think you really have to rely on the Roaring Moon and not allow it to get intimidated, because when the acrobatics is boosted up, once you use the booster energy, you're able to deal a significant amount of damage because the damage increases without the item, right? And you do have the Terra flying on there as well to give it the extra boost. But are you ready to commit your Terra to that Roaring Moon? Is it worth it?
I think that's the question. We saw with the Tailwind that the Tailwind was plenty for a lot of the pieces on Adam's team to actually be faster. than the Shadow Rider Calyrex on Shohei's side. That's very important to consider, especially when it came down to like the Rillaboom's Woodhammer. It's still going to be a pretty offensive piece, especially if you can get that Woodhammer down with that same type attack bonus damage on grassy terrain. A lot of those modifiers are going to add up, so you can actually start whacking away at some of this like big tanky damage and energy coming out from Shohei's team. But on the other side of things, where do you actually put that Roaring Moon in?
I would like to see it earlier rather than later so it can apply the pressure it needs. But
Tailwind's up.
That's true. Let's see what's coming out on the field. And it looks a little familiar here, Rosemary. We've got Incineroar and the Calyrex Shadow Rider out on the field for both these trainers.
It is looking like looking in a mirror.
Oh, yeah, quite literally. They're even like matched across the field here. But you start to see the abilities coming through as well. The Intimidate's coming through. That's only really going to be able to affect the opposing Incineroars. And I wonder now if these Calyrexes are going to want to stay unterrestrialized.
I think it's really important to note the order of which these Intimidates actually go through. Adams ending up getting those Intimidates out first. It does seem like maybe that Incineroar is going to be a bit faster. So is that knowledge that Shohei is concerned about when kind of looking at, okay, well, where could Fake Out come through? Adams would be faster if you do try to fake out the Incineroar on the opposing side.
I'd be almost tempted if I was Adams to just go for a parting shot here to just try and reduce the potential nasty plot coming through from the opposing side, particularly if it does want to terrestrialize, because if it goes into that Dark Terror, I really do not see a lot that Adams' Pokemon on the field right now can do to deal damage, other than the Draining Kiss, I guess.
The Draining Kiss is nice too, because that secondary effect is that you restore some of the HP from the damage that you're dealt out. So maybe you are able to, after one Calm Mind or something, be able to try to outpace the damage that Shohei is putting on the field.
Exactly, and we're going to see the beautiful and bejeweled Calyrex Shadow Rider on the field once again, going for that Dark Terror, making sure that it's not going to be taking super effective damage from an Astral Barrage here, wanting to make sure it's got its defensive capabilities in play to maybe go for one of those nasty plots, but it's going to be Sparkles all around, Rose.
It is, because that's going to be yet another terrestrialization onto Adams, and based on the terrestrialization, we can also get more confirmation that Shohei Shadow Rider is faster. Yes, that's going to be the first to terrestrialize. We've also seen that move before Adams, and here's the nasty plot. We're going to get a lot of setup.
Not only does it look faster, but it looks pretty ferocious to me. It's setups on both sides here. The Calm Mind coming through on Adams here, making sure that special defense and special attack are boosted up. Really, really interesting to see if the Incineroars, yes, they are going to be able to follow the speed of the Intimidates here. So the parting shot comes through on Adam's side. I wonder if it's going to be a parting shot on the opposing side as well.
I think it would be a fantastic choice for Shohei to have made.
Yeah.
Expect that you're going to be doing some type of setup, then maybe you are predicting that Adam is trying to go for the same thing, and it would allow you to just make sure that you are keeping that opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex's stats in check. You'd be the only one with a boost.
Or another Fake Out.
Exactly, and it's interesting to see, you know, which Pokemon are going to come through here, because that Roaring Moon is primed to try and come out and set that Tailwind up so that your Calyrex Shadow Rider is able to gain that speed advantage here in this mirror. You don't currently have to worry about an Amoonguss on the field, so you're going to be able to, you know, just focus in on supporting the Calyrex rather than having to deal out the damage. And there's the speed boost again from the booster energy.
Yep, and it is going to be a parting shot. So mirrored turns sort of on the same side, but what does Shohei actually try to bring out to take this Incineroar's place? The fact that Adams is first, you now get a good idea of like, okay, well, I know there's a Roaring Moon.
Yes.
So how am I going to be able to counter that? I ended up bringing the Rillaboom in the last game, I want to say, that does have the Fake Out. Oh, no, the Amoonguss, sorry. There was a Grass type. I just had the wrong
They were
one.
both there. They were both there.
Yeah.
But I think the Amoonguss could be the really pivotal Pokemon here, being able to go for something like the Redirection and draw in a potential Draining Kiss. But it is going to be that Rillaboom.
Rillaboom here makes a lot of sense. Now you have the opportunity to actually fake something out. You think that this Roaring Moon is going to be more of the problem, you could go for that, but you have to keep in mind that both of Adam's Pokemon on the field right now do have the opportunity and option to go for Protect.
Yes, be able to go for a defensive play, and we know that Adam isn't afraid of doing that. It's whether Shohei wants to read into that, make a really bold play, and go for something like a Nella Nasty Plot, but he doesn't need to. He's got the momentum right now. You could always just try and get some damage on the board with something like the Astral Barrage. Just try and get these Pokemon into a prime position to be KO'd, maybe even with a Grimnay boost. But you can also allow your Rillaboom to shine. There's no Fake Out coming through, that the Acrobatics comes through, not enough to be able to get the knockout, however, as the Astral Barrage from Shohei's is going to come through, connect on both the opposing Pokemon. No KO, though, but of course, the Calyrex Shadow Rider is not going to be able to take another one of those in the next turn.
No, but I mean, the fact that we do see this Astral Barrage in return with the Rillaboom already taking as much damage as it has, we're not going to be able to see what move it is going for in this turn. It just gets knocked out for all of its troubles, and because of how low it was, it's actually going to give over a Grenade boost to Adams. So we're kind of back up on par here, +1 for both of these Shadow Rider Calyx's special attack.
In both games 1 and 2, Adam has very kind of cleanly been able to remove the Rillaboom on the opposing side from the field. Shohei's Rillaboom really hasn't done much other than set up the terrain. The interesting thing in this next turn, we know that that Roaring Moon is faster. It can go for a Tailwind, try and get some speed up on Adam's side of the field, enabling that Calyrex Shadow Rider with its new Grenade boost to be able to put some pressure onto the field. Maybe even get in range of a KO. But like, get used to the dark typing. It's going to be really difficult. Maybe a Draining Kiss here, particularly with the Terra Fairy boosting up those Fairy type moves, you might be able to just get the knockout. But if an Amoonguss comes into that slot, the redirection is going to really put a thorn in your side.
You're very close, though, to whether Adams actually even gets a chance to. That was a lot of damage that came there from the Astral Barrage, just about half. So it could be a bit of a roll, maybe. And I don't even think you're particularly worried about, I think actually if you're Shohei, you're not particularly worried about the amount of HP that this Shadow Rider Calyrex has. Despite the fact you might not actually be able to flinch the target, you're still faster. You could end up going for something like a fake out into the Shadow Rider Calyrex if you predict that maybe this Roaring Moon is not going to actually try to go for Tailwind.
You know what I like is the Incineroar on Shohei's side is running Helping Hand. That could potentially be what the Calyrex needs to be able to get the knockout on the opposing side. But not today on the Calyrex on Adam's side. It has gone for the Protect. The Fake Out actually going down into the Roaring Moon, allowing the Calyrex on Shohei's side to try and go for another one of these Astral Barrages.
Oh, the Roaring Moon. We saw how much it took that turn prior. Does not have any additional boost on Shohei's side, but it's not actually going to be enough to secure the knockout onto this Roaring Moon. That Protect, though, is going to be very beneficial for the Shadow Rider Calyrex to get a little bit of extra terrain healing. Yes. So maybe you're a little bit more confident for Adam that you would survive another Astral Barrage.
I think if it's a regular Astral Barrage, fine. Yes, Adam's Calyrex is going to be able to hang on there. But if there is the potential for that Helping Hand, that's where the momentum could really swing in Shohei's favor, particularly as we know that Calyrex Shadow Rider is currently the faster at the moment. It all depends if Roaring Moon wants to go for that Tailwind and try and even the score.
Adam is a very big decision to make here, though. Do you try to go for another Combine to see if you can actually try to withstand this Astral Barrage with the Helping Hand with something like the Tailwind? Oh, there's actually opportunity
here. Yeah, this is a big opportunity here for Adam. Whether he's going to be able to capitalize on it, let's see. The Tailwind is in place, so the speed is on Adam's side. But whether you can get that special defense and the special attack boost out with the Calm Mind, it is now in play. Incineroar might go for a parting shot, might try and bring down the special attack, but that special defense is staying where it's at, boosted.
Yeah, even though you do see that parting shot come through, you are able to continue to mitigate some of the Shadow Rider Calyrex's special attack. You still have to deal with the fact that it's under Tailwind now. Yeah. It is going to be faster than you. That Roaring Moon also going to be faster. And there's no additional option here for Fake Out that Shohei can switch in. That Rillaboom has already gone down. So what is going to be this fourth and final Pokemon for Shohei in this game too?
Going to be good information for Adam so he can pivot the Pokemon around to see which formidable threat is there. It's got to be something to support this Shadow Rider Calyrex, and it's going to be that Amoonguss. It has the potential to go for these Rage Powders, draw in some attacks. Obviously, we know the Roaring Moon's been intimidated, and it's kind of on its last legs. Another Astral Barrage will be able to KO it. But the Calyrex Shadow Rider on Adam's side, if you go for the Astral Barrage, that's going to deal some decent damage, but I don't think it's getting the knockout into the opposing Calyrex here.
No, I mean, it's gonna be really close, right? Maybe this Amoonguss is able to hang on through something, but it's just a Protect from the Amoonguss. And because it's slower, there's actually not going to be a Protect coming through from this Shadow Rider Calyrex. Predicting that this Acrobatics from the Roaring Moon was trying to target down this Amoonguss, but can this Astral Barrage actually do it? Shohei is banking on the fact that it will not, as the Astral Barrage +1 is not going to be enough, not nearly enough to secure the knockout. So an Astral Barrage in return, we know it should not be able to knock out this Shadow Rider Calyrex with those +2 Calm Mind boosts, but it's enough to get this Roaring Moon and yet another special attack boost with that Grenade.
This is the thing, Roaring Moon did its job in terms of setting up the Tailwind, but by going down, you give the Grenade boost to the opposing Calyrex. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult. Even if you have +2 special defense, it's still going to hurt coming through with the boosts. And how do you deal with the Amoonguss? Amoonguss is sitting on the field, very pretty, full HP. You have the Incineroar. That is one way to be able to try and deal with it. You could always go for something like the Flare Blitz here, but there's still the Incineroar in the back for Shohei as well that can apply Intimidates and make it more difficult for the Incineroar on Adam's side.
Yeah, it's also important to note, though, too, that we do actually have kind of like a difference in strategy here from Adam. He ended up opting to leave the Urshifu at home. That would have been really nice just to have as an extra.
Still nothing, Rosemary.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too early for that Urshifu at the moment.
But you're right, though. It's such a key physical attacker, and having that close combat would be really, really nice. But when you have the support of something like the Amoonguss, it makes it very difficult for Urshifu to shine. So some really nice adjustments here. Adjustments on the field, actually, getting rid of those boosts and going, I need to intimidate this opposing Incineroar. And that's exactly what Shohei is doing, knowing that the Calyrex Shadow Rider, and when Tailwind is ended, can come back and be formidable. But here we go, the Astral Barrage, decent damage into the Amoonguss. Another one will KO.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Is that you do have the opportunity to go for Rage Powder, but the fact that Astral Barrage is that spread attack, you know your own Shadow Rider is not going to be able to withstand that. So instead, you get rid of the boost. It's a very big risk to take, but you are hopeful that the Tailwind is going to expire. But the Amoonguss, yeah, getting knocked out for its troubles does mean that Shohei is on his final 2 Pokemon for this game too.
I like that, though. You've dealt with the Amoonguss. It's gone. You're now forcing the Calyrex Shadow Rider, the last 2 remaining Pokemon on Shohei's side, to come back into the field. And it has had to forego its boosts here at this point as well. That nasty plot, the Grimnay, is gone.
Is gone. And it is still a pretty bulky Pokemon, though. So if you're worried a little bit about this Incineroar, maybe you're still able to survive a Flare Blitz, but there's still one more turn of Tailwind. A little bit predictable, I think. Maybe Shohei, knowing that he might have to go for something like a Protect on this Calyrex, try to get the speed back in his favor. But the Incineroar here still is able to try to get a little bit of stuff done. Shohei's Incineroar does have a knockoff. It has the Helping Hand again, like you mentioned. So Helping Hand at the end of the day might still be beneficial, but Shohei being on his last 2 Pokemon here is a very tough ask as you take a look at this Rillaboom in the back coming in with full HP.
Yeah, bringing that terrain back to the field as well to help out the Calyrex and apply something like the Fake Out Pressure going into the next turn, because I think Shohei might protect it, exactly what we're seeing, stall out the last turn of Tailwind and allow your Calyrex to be faster, but then the Fake Out in the next turn is going to be able to stop it in its tracks. Here comes through another Astral Barrage, obviously only going to be able to target down into that opposing Incineroar, do a little bit of damage, but a little is a lot at this point, because another one of those, particularly paired up with anything that Rillaboom wants to throw through, is going to be able to get the knockout on that opposing Incineroar.
It all adds up. Even just a little bit of chip damage coming through from the knockoff, it does remove this Covert Cloak. Not really a big deal anymore in this matchup because you don't have Fake Out available anymore or any other sort of
secondary effects coming through.
Right, exactly.
I mean, looking at this right now, yes, it kind of looks telegraphed. You can put the Fake Out down into that opposing Calyrex Shadow Rider, go for another Astral Barrage. The Incineroar on Shohei's side doesn't have Protect either, so it's going to have to take the full brunt force of one of these attacks. Looks like the double Protect failed there on the opposing side as the Fake Out comes through, connects, and stops it in its tracks. The double damage coming through here, targeting on both Pokemon, going to be able to get a knockout on the Calyrex, and then it's just a matter of time for the little kitty cat.
It's not going to be able to get through all of this. There's no Flare Blitz on Shohei's Incineroar, so no way to hit this Rillaboom for super effective damage. And even if you are able to go for a knockoff here, still just not quite enough to distribute that damage across the board. So that is 1-1. We're going into a game number 3 here for our very first match of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships.
That makes it very exciting. It shows the actually mastery caliber of play from these trainers, particularly the way Adam was able to adapt in that game too. Shohei locking on the forfeit, saying, let's go to a game 3 and see who is going to win this set.
Wow, great adjustment there from Adam, leaving the Urshifu at home. Meant that he just had so much more opportunity to try to weave in those Fake Outs, make sure that you can get those Intimidate drops. A lot more pivoting potential as well with something like a Parting Shot as well as the U-turn, which if in tandem kind of follows a very similar vein of strategy that Shohei was going for as well, bringing his own Rillaboom into this game number 2.
Yes, unfortunately for Shohei, though, the Rillaboom hasn't really done a lot. It's not able to get a lot of offensive pressure on the field. The offensive pressure is really coming from the Calyrexes. As you can see here, getting those boosts up very early doors in this game, too, just meant that you had to rely on the Incineroars going for these parting shots to try and negate some of that pressure onto the field. The Astral Barrage not only dealing a huge amount of damage, but also hitting both Pokemon on the opposing side, leaves very little room for error here.
Really does. And this particular moment as well, when you actually end up seeing this Protect come through from the Calyrex, I know you're trying to make sure that you are not going to be taking too much damage from something like this Shadow Rider Calyrex on the other side. You see Shohei just kind of like, you know, he cringed a little bit. He's like, oh, this is definitely not what I wanted to see. Another Calm Mind boost meant that Adams was starting to get out of hand.
But I love that. Adam playing, you know, a bold choice to go for a second setup in a match, but capitalizing so well on Shohei's defensive play. And also, I think in the end game, bringing in the Rillaboom right at the end, going, hey, you're going to play defensively again. You're going to protect on the last turn of Tailwind. I got your number here. I'm bringing in my Fake Outer so that I can make these adaptations. And I really loved seeing that come through. If we focus a little bit onto game 3, both these trainers have kind of obviously brought their restrictors. They've brought some really big support. Shohei in the form of that Incineroar, but also critically the Amoonguss. In game 2, Adam was able to play around that Amoonguss a little bit better, being able to already have kind of your stacked, boosted Calyrex with the Astral Barrage, dealing a significant amount on the field.
It did, and then Amoonguss not being able to put something to sleep, you could also feel just how pivotal in that game number 1 that Spore really was. Just completely removing a piece from the field meant that you just had so much more room to operate with in terms of getting your own nasty plots, just dishing out that damage. The Amoonguss staying alive a little bit longer to get the regenerator, make sure that you're actually cycling. We'll see how either of these players decides to adjust. For Shohei, it is going to be an adjustment of leaving the Incineroar either on the bench or in the back, and this Amoonguss now on the field instead. Adam trying to go back through with that game 2 game plan.
I love this coming out from Shohei here, knowing that the Amoonguss was so disruptive in game 1. Let's bring it out front and center to already get up to some shenanigans. You could try and go for some redirection here. You can just try and support your opposing Calyrex. But the Incineroar, a really nice play coming in here for Adam. It's almost forcing Shohei to have to go for the Terra Dark or a Protect onto his own Calyrex to stop the Calyrex on Adam's side going for a free Astral Barrage here.
But do you continue, you know, what do you want to try to do something a little bit different? You could go for the parting shot in the same way, but you know the Amoonguss also has the opportunity to just Rage Powder away from that. There isn't actually a Grass Terra available from either of these Pokemon. Incineroar for Adam is going to have a Terra Water, so there is not really a great way to actually try to get around the Rage Powder or the Spores.
Exactly, and you kind of want to think maybe if that Calyrex Shadow Rider that likes to go for those nasty plots wants to also go for the Terra Dark, you could even catch it with a cheeky Fake Out, but it's not to be. It's leaving the field here for Shohei, going to be nice and protected in the back where it will have its time to shine, and instead is replaced with the intimidating Incineroar. Again, going to be weakening the offensive pressure on the opposing Incineroar, but also allowing Amoonguss to have a little bit more flexibility.
And it's also able to resist the Astral Barrage.
Yes,
if you're
exactly.
expecting that to come through from the Shadow Arc Calyrex, and it's another way that you're able to try to withstand some of that offense. But as we've seen from Adam in the game number 1 and game number 2, he's wanted to try to get those Combine boosts up right away for this Shadow Rider.
So there's the Fake Out going down into what was the Calyrex Shadow Rider, going to be kind of null and void into the switching in Incineroar as the Calm Mind does go up. This is risky. The Amoonguss has the potential to go for a Spore and just kind of shut down this opposing Pokemon.
And if it does, that would be absolutely huge. The Spore goes into the Shadow Runner Calyrex from Adam. And even though you're able to get that Calm Mind boost up, it's immediately put to sleep.
At least it's going to be able to get its turns in early when the opposing Calyrex isn't on the field. You have the Incineroar now. You're a Fairy type, so you don't have to worry so much about things like the knockoff coming through. We saw what negligible damage that was able to deal before. But then if you do lose your Covert Cloak, that's where Fake Out can kind of roll into the match as it goes through. If I was these trainers right now, if I was Adam, I'd want to try and find a way to get rid of this Amoonguss as fast as possible. You have to kind of rely on your Incineroar, but again, Incineroar in a position where it can be put to sleep in this turn as well if it doesn't want to get off the field, but there's no safe switch in other than potentially a Rillaboom.
Even then, right? Do you really want to put yourself in a position where you're sort of off cadence? Is the Rillaboom okay in that position when you think that maybe there's a Shadow Rider Calyrex waiting in the wings to just peek its head back out before the Shadow Rider can wake up on Adam's side? But it is going to be the Rillaboom. You don't want to let another Pokemon go to bed. It is too early for that in this World Championships, and you got to make sure that the Shadow Rider wakes up. There's the mandatory turn. Try to get it out of here, but the parting shot into that slot is also going to make sure that Shohei can get another pivot in.
Yep, insult to injury here as the Incineroar able to get off the field. It's not running Flare Blitz, so it's not something that could really apply pressure to that opposing Rillaboom. So it's nice here for Shohei to adjust things, bring in a Pokemon that can apply some offensive pressure and maybe even capitalize on the fact that this opposing Calyrex hasn't been allowed its boost, and you now are in a position where you can start dealing out some big damage. Particularly if it keeps sleeping, you could go for another nasty plot here.
You could, but this Calyrex is just going to continue to wait back there. It's going to be the Rillaboom once again here for Shohei. It's the adjustment that we saw in game number 2. But this time around, when you take a look at the Rillaboom, you know that it has U-turn. You can actually just try to get some super effective damage down into the Rillaboom on the other side. Unfortunately, it is just going to be the fake out into that slot, so we don't get a chance to see it. But the wake up here from this Shadow Rider on Adams is going to get the double damage down into both of these Pokemon. There's no Assault Vest here on Shohei's Rillaboom. Try to withstand that, but the Sludge Bomb just whittle away at this fairy type Shadow Rider.
It can whittle away, but it's even though it's super effective, it's not dealing a monumental bit of damage, particularly with the grassy terrain on the field, being able to allow the Calyrex Shadow Rider to regroup a little bit. The issue is, however, can the Calyrex Shadow Rider do anything before the opposing Amoonguss is able to put it back to sleep here?
Yes, with the amount of damage that has come through so far, not necessarily. So protect that we see Adam hovering over would be a great way to be able to protect himself from that. Rillaboom just leaves the field, though.
I think it has to.
Yes, Incineroar. You can bring that back in, get the Intimidate drop down onto the Rillaboom once again. Kind of force Adam into this game of chicken. Do you want to try to get this Rillaboom off the field, try to reset those Intimidate drops, and leave something else a bit more vulnerable?
Shohei really looks in the driving seat now, though, because yes, the Rillaboom's going to get off the field, it's intimidated, so the U-turn really doesn't do too much, and you have just protected your new Calyrex Shadow Rider that has dropped its Ghost typing, so a fake out from the opposing Incineroar may be able to come through once you knock it off as well with the knockoff, obviously, on the Incineroar, just removing that Covert Cloak from play. The Rillaboom on Shohei's side, sitting in a very vulnerable spot. You've already mentioned a lot about how the Assault Vest isn't in play, so it makes it very difficult for that Rillaboom to have longevity on the field. Spore coming through, Amoonguss doing what it does best, just trying to shut down this opposing Calyrex. And this is what I like from Adam here. You brought the Incineroar on, you can choose your fake-out target here. I think if you're going to shut down that opposing Amoonguss, that would be best. You don't want a Spore, and you can maybe allow that Calm Mind to come through.
Good. Or you can even just potentially secure the knockout with something like the Astral Barrage. At this point, I think it would be a little bit too close for comfort. So Adam opting to try to get in a bit more of that special defense capability for that Shadow Rider. It's a full HP. There's also no Terra yet used on Shohei's side. I think that's a very important distinction between the first two games that we saw.
Yes, because he got that Calyrex out there right at the beginning of this game 3, unlike the previous turns. The fake out going down into that pesky little mushroom there. As the fake out comes through on the opposing Incineroar as well into this. Oh, no, it was actually the knockoff, getting rid of the item there. Calm Mind is coming through. This is what Adam likes to do with this Calyrex, just trying to negate a potential parting shot. Particularly as there wasn't one in this particular turn, this boost is going to be in play going into the next turn as well. So you're right here, Rosemary. Going for something like the Astral Barrage could really put a threat on the potential of that Amoonguss.
It's such a tough call, though, right? Shohei is considering maybe I can just go for the fake out. I think that would at least be doing a little bit. If I'm lucky, I'm able to get the fake out into the Incineroar, but it was also the play that could have parting shot in that turn. Very, very tough call to make. Fortunately, going to go for the fake out. It's going to be a very smooth turn here for Shohei as you look at the Amoonguss and Incineroar.
Yes, I think the Incineroar on Shohei's side is in a very interesting spot here because you could always potentially, switch it out, bring the Rillaboom in and just kind of, let it go down to be able to bring and Intimidate back in later on. But it's all about this Calyrex right now. Being able to go for this Astral Barrage, not going to be able to get any damage down onto the opposing Amoonguss as you're able to connect down onto the Incineroar. Significant chunk of damage, but really not putting it in the danger zone as the Incineroar on Adam's side decides to, make a little bit of a switch, pivot things around. The Amoonguss on Shohei's side, I'm not going to lie, I would not be surprised to see that leave the field, get a little bit more HP back with its Regenerator ability, and rejoin a little bit later on. But it's what you're going to do in its place.
No fourth Pokemon revealed to Shohei yet from Adam. We can see what is in the back here, but you're always looking for an opportunity to actually get that piece in at the right moment. A parting shot here from Shohei's Incineroar is going to allow it to pivot off of the field while also dropping that special attack stat here from this Shadow Rider. There's a couple of options. Like, as you said, you could bring in the Rillaboom if you wanted. You do have the opportunity to go for fake out into the other slot. But I think it's time, bring back out the Shadow Rider. I think you're okay knowing that there isn't actually going to be something on the other side that's going to do super effective damage to something like the Terra.
Also, the speeds haven't been altered here by a tailwind from the Roaring Moon. So if you're Shohei, you're going to be pretty confident that your Calyrex is going to be in a prime position to start getting some damage on the board. Particularly when you've got the Amoonguss there, you can always try a little bit of redirectional support and allow a nasty plot to go up. But the issue is, if you are the Rillaboom just joining here on the field, you could always try and go for the fake out into that opposing Amoonguss and once again protect your Calyrex. But Amoonguss getting out of there going, I need to regenerate some HP. And also maybe if you're bringing in a Pokemon from the back like the Incineroar, you can throw down that Intimidate onto the Rillaboom once again.
What a tough call, though. You have to assume that Shohei is going to try to go for the terrestrialization here, not having the Amoonguss to try to keep it safe. You want to know that you're able to kind of withstand this oncoming damage in your own right. The only problem is if you do see something like that Draining Kiss, you are a bit vulnerable to that. You have no Rage Powder to try to redirect that away, but it's just going to have to be a nasty play. You want to try to outpace the Shadow Rider Calyrex on Adam's side.
It's going to be the Astral Barrage, though, coming through, connecting on both the opposing Pokemon here. Again, really negligible damage, particularly considering there's a nasty plot on the opposing side. If I was Adam, I'd be quaking in my little hooves right now from the damage potential that can come back across the field at you right now.
This has been a bit of a slower game. We're really waiting for this kind of like this opening.
Yes.
These players are looking for the right opportunity to try to just put the pressure on the gas.
There's no safety net, right? This is game 3. The winner of this game wins the set. So there is no room for error. It's Pokemon World Championships. It's game 3 of round 1. You want to set the tone for your tournament journey here.
Fake out on the Incineroar could actually try to stop this Shadow Rider in its tracks. Shohei's worked so hard to try to get these nasty plot boosts onto this horse who could actually start to get itself into this race.
But Adam too, though. Adam's been working really hard on these Calm Mind boosts. It's not just for the special attack. The critical thing is the special defense boost.
Yes.
Because you're against such a formidable special attacker in the form of the Calyrex, you need to make sure that, even as the Fairy type, you're going to be able to hang on to these Astral Barrages and make sure that you can deal significant damage, even with like a double up potential from something like the Incineroar, and get rid of the threat on the opposing side. Speaking of threats, Amoonguss is back on the field, though, as a defensive play from Shohei comes through in the form of the Protect.
Smart. You're going to be able to bypass that fake out.
Yep.
That way, you're not actually going to leave yourself vulnerable to taking too much damage. The Amoonguss gets a chance to switch back in. You're not worried about it taking too much damage. Calm Mind, though. Oh, it's starting to get a little bit out of hand here. This is the third Calm Mind that Adam's been able to go for in this game number 3, which means that special defense has 3 stages on top of it.
I honestly feel like in this game 3, we've been like climbing up the hill or like the roller coaster. You're going up, 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 and we're about to hit the peak and roll out with the damage here. The fact that these Calm Minds are in play, the fact that you've also got the Nasty Plot on the opposing side means the momentum is going to be key. Something like the Astral Barrage coming through on Adam's side, follow up by a potential Flare Blitz into that Amoonguss could be a key to success. But Amoonguss playing very defensively, going for the Protect. As on Shohei's, the faster Calyrex is able to go for the Astral Barrage. First of all, connects down, decent damage, but no KOs.
No KOs just yet, but it looks like it could be very close onto something like that Incineroar, as the Astral Barrage in return. It's going to come down to what this Incineroar is able to do on the outside of this, that Shadow Rider Calyrex on his last legs. As the Flare Blitz into that slot, not ready to do the Protect. It's enough to get the knockout, and that is going to be Shohei losing as restricted in this third and final game of the set.
It's down and out. It left the field at the beginnings, come back in, got set up, but just wasn't able to get the knockouts here. A sigh of celebration there for the Incineroar on the field. Of course, it's not going to be able to get any boost from this, but it certainly swings the momentum into Adam's favor. The Amoonguss sitting very vulnerable now to a very similar play. The Astral Barrage and the Flare Blitz coming through. Rillaboom, same boat here, because it is not running that Assault Vest, and you can't even fake out the opposing Calyrex thanks to the Covert Cloak.
Covert Cloak is still intact. That is going to be a big problem here for Shohei to try to get through the rest of the Shadow Rider Calyrex's HP pool. Still sitting at half. Going to be getting a little bit more recovery, as well as this grassy terrain is still active on the field. But it's all about what's in the back here. Adam sees an out, sees the win at the end of the tunnel, and that is with the super effective damage that this Roaring might be able to dish out.
And honestly, I love that Flare Blitz play going down into the Calyrex, because if Amoonguss redirects it, it redirects it, but if you protect it, then you're not going to be dealing damage. Fantastic play. Incineroar taking a little bit of a break as the Calyrex also goes for the Protect. The grassy terrain has come back onto the field as well. Going to be able to get that recovery up, give the Calyrex a little bit more longevity on the field here. As the Spore comes through, of course, it's going down into a Rillaboom. It's a grass type. It's not going to do any connecting here.
It's still something, though. You have to hope that it's going to be anything on the other side. The Incineroar.
Anything but the Rillaboom.
Yes, and literally anything but. Even in something in the back, you know that it's going to be susceptible to that fake out, or to that Spore. So now what's next, right? For Adam, it's still about trying to make sure that you've got the Shadow Rider Calyrex able to pin and finish up the game.
Yes, and again, if you're Adam, you have all 4 Pokemon remaining, so you have a little bit of flexibility, particularly when you have utility with something like the U-turn and the parting shots on your kind of Rillaboom and Incineroar pivot Pokemon. So you can keep applying pressure with these Intimidates to the opposing Rillaboom, or just completely shutting them down here as well with the Fake Out.
Astral Barrage. If this is not enough to clean up this Amoonguss, then there's an opportunity to go for the Spore into this Shadow Rider Calyrex. Give yourself a little bit of breathing room. But as that Astral Barrage is enough to knock out Shohei's Rillaboom, that is going to be just 2 Pokemon left here. Spore does connect. That is important, but it's just the Incineroar left to try to deal damage.
You know what? This gets very dicey here. The Incineroar on Shohei's side doesn't have Flare Blitz. Its only kind of attacking move, other than Fake Out, is Knockoff. And that's going down into a Fairy Pokemon on the opposing side. That's not going to be
so little.
Exactly. It's going to be doing like no damage. The Rillaboom as well, not going to be worrying too much, particularly when there is such low HP on that Incineroar. The Rillaboom on Adam's side, yes, it can't do too much to the opposing Incineroar, but you can clean up into that Amoonguss with something like the U-turn. You can maybe try and go for just, I don't know, would hammer damage into the Incineroar, or even just the U-turn yourself. But there's the forfeit. Shohei concedes.
He is going to concede there, and Adam Sherfui is going to win the very first Swiss match that we have here in day number 1 of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships. Fantastic positioning coming through from his Shadow Rider Calyrex to get those Combine boosts up and ready to go. And it was just too much for Shohei to try to get through.
That's got to be a good feeling right there. Day 1, round 1 of the Pokemon World Championships, and you're taking down the reigning champion. And I have to say, both trainers, particularly in such a mirrored kind of match, played so incredibly well with their adaptations, preserving their Calyrex.
The problem for Sejun back in 2014 kind of does a lot of the same things coming into this format as well, and those big threats that we are seeing.
Of course, we have to talk about what Aaron's running, and this team, I didn't think that I was going to see as much Entei out on the field as we have, but Aaron deciding to bring that one paired out with the Zamazenta. Zamazenta's been a Pokemon that we have seen great success with, being able to take down regional champions. So this is a really, really cool choice and a really just strong 6 overall. We get the Grimmsnarl with the screens as well. Make sure there's a little bit more longevity to your Pokemon.
Yeah, he's got some nice speed control option there with the Fluttermane and the booster energy there. So you're going to have that inevitable speed boost when it does come out onto the field. You've got the Icy Wind to support other things on the field like that Zamazenta that is fast, but not quite as fast as some of the other speedier restricteds in the format. Then you've got that Chen Pao that's got that sort of rune ability. That's really going to bolster the attacking power of not only the Rillaboom there, that's probably more of a support option, but it does have that offensive outlet. But you've got the Entei there as well, choice band item to do some destructive damage on the field, and then that Zamazenta, which has got the Wide Guard, so it's got that supporting feature as well. So any spread moves coming out, maybe looking at that Miraidon and Sejun's side, the discharge could be quite threatening. But you've got the Heavy Slam, you've got the Body Press, all boosted by that sort of rune, and then the bolstering part of the team comes back to that Grimmsnarl with those screens, with that Taunt, real good supportive outlet there. And I think something that Aaron's probably going to lean on quite heavily in this match to allow those physical threats to do the job that he needs them to do.
For Aaron, this moment has to be absolutely massive. 10th time qualifying for the World Championships. First time competing since 2017. So to be back here at this moment has got to be incredible. This team's well constructed.
Still
Have
got
to
it.
see if it can take down this Pachirisu and Sejun Park's team. The Miraidon's a Pokemon that right away, it was the first Regulation G event, is able to take down. But we've got to see a couple of different looks. I think the Terra Fairy is kind of what we went through at the gate. We kind of swapped it around. Terra Electric, wow, this is doing power. But now going back for both a defensive and a defensive option, considering you're able to have that Dazzling Gleam, something that can hit quite well into other things, and it's not dropping that special attack if something like that Draco Meteor would.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I mentioned there for the Wide Guard potentially that Aaron might be looking out for on that Miraidon is the discharge, but you can see here it's not there. Opting for other options, taking advantage of that Fairy Terrestrialization with the Dazzling Gleam, that's going to be boosted. You've got that Draco Meteor that's going to be very nice into that Zamazenta if Aaron does decide to Terrestrialize the Zamazenta and go into that Dragon type, because then you've got to wait to hit it for super effective damage, ignore any of those defense boosts, and you've just got to worry about how you deal with those light screen support from something like the Grimmsnarl. But you look at the other options that Sejun's got, the Pachirisu, got the Follow Me, they're going to be able to support big, the big techs on that team, like the Miraidon. And the nice thing is the Iron Hands here, a bit different from what we've seen. Clear Amulet here, where it does have that immunity to any sort of stat drops, any Intimidate that could come out onto it. And it's also got the Swords Dance. I think that pairs nicely with that Pachirisu where you can go for the Follow Me.
Aaron Zhang going up against Sejun Park. Out the gate right away, Miraidon restricted next to Chi-Yu, as we get to see restricted from Aaron coming out as well. The Zamazenta next to that Rillaboom. Rillaboom hitting the field here is fantastic, because right away, you're going to get this opportunity to, right over the terrain, have that grassy terrain out instead.
Yeah, it's a really nice play here from Aaron, having that Fake Out here to disrupt either of these Pokemon on Sejun's side of the field. the argument is, which one do you choose to fake out, and do you commit to that? Because is there a Farigiraf in the back? If you go for that fake out, then the Farigiraf switching in, it's going to be a wasted turn, and you kind of want to avoid that. The other thing is the Chi-Yu has that Ghost Terastallization, so it could commit the Terastallization there to get some, you know, a Heat Wave, an Overheat onto these two Fire-weak Pokemon. So lots for Aaron to consider here. And it's really one of those turns where Sejun feels like with these choice Pokemon out on the field, he's got a lot more offensive pressure going into this turn.
Right away, Rillaboom's not going to be sticking around for a fake out. We're going to see the swap in a little bit of what Aaron has in the back here for the team. And it's going to be this Entei. Terastallization is going to be the way to kick off this match right from the get-go. And we're going to be eyeing up the Chi-Yu. So instead of that Terra Fairy on the Miraidon, making sure that, hey, if there is a fake out that was coming this way, would do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the one thing that you could say that Sejun could do is maybe go for that Heat Wave and then a Draco Meteor into the Zamazenta. It covers a Terastallization, but we just see a Protect come out from that side of the field, and a big overheat here into the Entei, and taking, they're doing massive damage for a resisted attack as well.
Yeah, considering it's an Entei, that is a lot of damage from the overheat. Of course, you are going to have that special attack drop, so that's going to be something that the Chi-Yu might be eyeing up a swap sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think getting it off the field as soon as possible, but you might want to keep it out now just to try and get some additional damage onto that Zamazenta that's on our side of the field. Nice Protect there to get around any damage, but Entei coming in, taking a lot of damage unnecessarily, and in a pretty awkward position as well now, because if the Volt Switch comes out from the Miraidon, you've got to think that that's probably in range of going down. So do you switch back into the Rillaboom to kind of soak that up, have that fake out once again to support the Zamazenta? But if you're doing that, you're leaving that Zamazenta kind of open here. You know that the Draco Meteor is not a threat though, so Aaron does have the option here to maybe go for that Dragon Terastallization, get some, you know, body slam damage into that Miraidon, start chipping away from his side of the field.
Oh, I think that's what we might just see here as we're going to be pressing the go button on Aaron's side of the field as well. Zamazenta, that Terra Dragon. Terra Dragon is always such a cool defensive Terastallization, considering against this Fire, Water, Grass core, it's going to be resisted. Does mean that later on you could be susceptible to that Miraidon, but for now, you know you are good, and this overheat targeted into is going to be doing negligible damage.
Yeah, it's a really nice defensive Terastallization here from Aaron, and knowing what the moves were locked into from the Miraidon and the Chi-Yu, had a free time doing that. You do see that Volt Switch into the Entei, does take it down, doing enough damage, and then that Miraidon going to be in the back for later on. Sejun can utilize that once this Chi-Yu has done the work that he needs to. Not really getting much use out of it now, and the Zamazenta has to take a turn. Where does it go? Probably that Body Slam into what was that Miraidon slot.
Yeah, this will be our first opportunity to see what else Sejun has brought to this match. Here's what it is. The Farigiraf that you called out could be a great one, considering it is something a little bit more on that defensive end. I am still personally hoping I'm patchy, but there is still a lot of really strong Pokemon that he can have. Even something like this Iron Hands could be great. Time to see what it is, though. It will be that Farigiraf, so no priority. But that's a lot of damage still.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of damage there. And because normally with the Electric Terrain set up, you would have that Electric Seed activated. You'd probably take that attack a lot better. But fortunately for Aaron, he's just positioning these pieces very well. See the Grassy Terrain on the field, the Rillaboom now in the back. And he's got the ability to bring that in just to get rid of that Electric Terrain whenever he chooses to. I think if you're Sejun, you've got to try and get that Miraidon back onto the field and threaten the Zamazenta with a Draco Meteor, because of now that Dragon Terra typing, you've got to try and get that Chi-Yu off the field as well, because really it's not very effective at all. It's launched 2 attacks out. It's going to be -4 special attack now, so you want to remove that off the field. This could be an opening for Aaron to maybe fish for either a knockout onto the Farigiraf with that body press into that slot, or double target down into the Chi-Yu, expecting maybe something like the Miraidon to come back onto the field.
I definitely wouldn't hate getting rid of the Farigiraf. Having that helping hand to be able to enable your partner Pokemon is not fun. Or even the foul plays, considering Aaron really only has Pokemon that are like attack heavy, that's something that can do a decent little amount of damage. And if you get rid of that Farigiraf, you do unlock that ability for your own priority. And when you have this Chien-Pao with this Sucker Punch, when you have this Rillaboom with that Grassy Glide, it's something that can start kicking off those KOs a little bit later on, especially too if that Chi-Yu comes in fresh later, having already Terastallized Ghost type. It would not appreciate a Sucker Punch.
Yeah, it's a really good note there to make, especially when that Chi-Yu comes back in. You remove that Iron Tail, you're freed up with that Sucker Punch to deal with that way more effectively. But here it is, the Pachirisu out into the field, taking a big critical hit throat chop though for its trouble.
that is going to be the focus edge broken with the Rocky Helmet recoil on that swap in. Frigorap, it's going to be going down. So now Sejun gets a free swap into something else. And now this could be an opportunity to bring that Chiyu back in, since you do have that redirection and you would still have that full special attack back. Or you can eye up throw that Miraidon and just go for some heavy damage, especially now that you've gotten that Terastallization out of Aaron Zamazenta.
Yeah, we were talking about the Frigorap going off the field, that Armor Tail going away, and then the Sucker Punch being an option. But the problem is now you've got the Pachirisu with the Follow Me, so you can't really utilize that attack anymore. Miraidon coming back onto the field, going to set that Electric Terrain up, and it does pose a big threat to that Zamazenta now with that Draco Meteor because of the Dragon Terra typing. The Chen Pao as well, it has had its Focus Sash broken, so not as kind of secure as it would have been normally. Miraidon threatens some big damage onto both of these targets.
Yeah, and this Miraidon, notably, since we are seeing the swap over into something like the Dazzling Gleam, we don't have this possibility of something that could just be hitting the whole field here. So you can be committing to something like a Dazzling Gleam instead, but you would have to be watching out for the potential of a wide guard over on Aaron's end. You would be dealing super effective damage into both, and you would make sure the Zamazenta is then not threatening damage on this turn, but that's still a big call to make.
Yeah, did you just commit with the Chen Pao to try and remove the Pachirisu, try and remove that Follow Me, so then it frees up your options where you're attacking into, you don't have to worry about any of those redirections. Going to see that Electric Terrain going away once again, the Rillaboom hitting the field and taking away a little bit of the power from that Miraidon as the Chen Pao just protects you. And going to see what the Miraidon locks into, which is going to be the most important thing. Little Patchy going for that Follow Me, pulling any attacks. None coming out this time, and it is that Draco Meteor. Really nice switch here from Aaron. -2, though. Rillaboom taking a little bit of damage for its trouble, but a really worthwhile one.
Yeah, bringing in the Assault Vest Pokemon. Now at -2, the Miraidon would have to just manually swap to be able to get that back. And that's where Aaron can find advantage into this. With that critical hit on the swap, and the Pachirisu has taken a lot of damage. And even if you protect and swap, you can just kind of double into the other slot. And you would have to make so much headway with that Miraidon back going on forward. So a little bit of a dangerous spot, and even eyeing up something like a Fake Out into it, since it is a choice lock Miraidon, it's a little bit tough. Your Trajan has to tread really carefully here.
Yeah, and depending on how both trainers have trained their Pokemon, there could be a speed tie here between the Chen Pao and the Miraidon. Chen Pao outspeeds it, probably got enough in the tank to be able to remove it with something like an Icicle Crash. So Sejun has to be very careful here. You haven't got the freedom to switch something in to kind of soak up that hit. You've got the Chiyu in the back that you really probably want to utilize later on in this game. Fake Out coming out into that Miraidon.
All right, so it's going to be the Fake Out. Follow Me. So the Miraidon, it won't be able to act, but it won't get KO'd at this moment. His Throat Chop from the Chen Pao is going to eliminate the poor little Pachirisu once and for all. A little bit more Rocky Helmet recoil, and Sejun Park now down to his final 2 Pokemon. The little round of applause for the Pachirisu.
And a nice turn here from Aaron, and he's really taking a lot of control of this match, making it very difficult for Sejun to get kind of that momentum swing that he's looking for. But there is hope. The Chiyu coming back onto the field, it is pretty healthy. Of course, now it doesn't have that support network of that Follow Me, the Farigiraf, so it is going to be susceptible to that Sucker Punch, and it's pretty easy for Aaron now to just say, okay, locking in Sucker Punch into that Chiyu. That's probably enough to pick up the knockout. Miraidon, it's down to -2 now. The Draco Meteor is probably not going to get the Rillaboom, so you're pretty safe going for something like a U-turn into that slot to allow a free switch into the Zamazenta the next turn. Once you've dealt with the Chiyu, you've got a pretty easy route to being able to deal with that Miraidon, which would be down to -4 with that Zamazenta.
Make it official. Sucker Punch Chiyu is down for the count. And only 1 Pokemon remaining here in this game. 1 between these 2 trainers. All down this -2 special attack Idon. Grassy Glide is just going to be that little bit of chip, not very effective, but slowly but surely. And as well, the Draco Meteor miss. If it wasn't completely sealed from that moment, well, it sure is now.
Yeah, definitely. That seals the deal, I think, for Aaron. But so well played. Aaron has just controlled this match from the get-go, really, with these well-timed terrestrialization, making it very difficult for Sejun to get kind of any foothold in this game. The Sucker Punch there can be enough for Aaron to go 1-0 up in this round 2 set.
Really, really well played. And we talked at the beginning of the match about how for maybe a window of opportunity for victory, Sejun to get the Terra out of Aaron could be where he find advantage. But we didn't necessarily talk too much about Aaron being able to get that Terastallization out of Sejun. That was a very first turn Terastallization from that Chiyu to make sure that it wouldn't get hit by a Fake Out. It's choice item locked. It can't protect. All of a sudden, it's Terra Ghost. The Faco didn't even go towards that slot. And it's a Chi-Yu that's just absolutely done for later in the match once Aaron was able to do due diligence, get rid of things like the Farigiraf.
Yeah, and it was a really big hard commit as well from the Chi that kind of cost him. And then as we're seeing now, the Pachirisu coming onto the field, not timed as well as probably what Sejun would have liked, because it forced him into a position where he had to switch out. And Aaron really capitalized in those moments where he was punishing Sejun, having to switch those Pokemon out to try and get them back and readjust that board for later in the game. Aaron just not giving him a foot in and really keeping the pressure going. So maybe we do see something different as we get into this game 2.
All right, from the get-go, Farigiraf's going to be leading the charge. So no potential priority option coming out from Aaron. So Sucker Punch off of the table. A little swap up from him as well. We saw the Rillaboom led from the get-go last time. Now it's going to be Chien-Pao next to that Zamazenta. Of course, the Zamazenta can threaten huge damage here and does get that defense raise for later on in the match when we see Sejun kind of swap Pokemon around. Maybe a swap could be a great thing to overwrite some terrain at this point, but Aaron definitely has options. Yeah, a lot of options here, and I think not leading with the Rillaboom is really smart because it gives you that flexibility now where you have got the choice to just preserve that focus sash on the Chien-Pao if you'd like to, switch that out, get the Rillaboom on the field, weaken that Miraidon, and then go after that Farigiraf, which could be a real problem the longer it sticks around. It really would limit what you're able to do with some of these Pokemon if you have got the NT in the back and the Chien-Pao. If you want to use those priority moves later on in this game, then getting rid of that Pokemon is probably the first point of call for Aaron. So maybe going after it now would be very useful. The one thing you would say different about that game 1 is that it has had that Psychic, the Electric Seed activated. So the Farigiraf's defense will be a lot better. Going to be able to take those, and the body presses much better than it did in that first game. It will, but that's where the Sword of Ruin from the Chien-Pao is definitely going to try and counteract that just a little bit, and the super effective hit is making that Electric Seed look not that great, taking it down to already half health. Big hit coming out from the Miraidon. It's not going to completely eliminate the Zamazenta. That's a hefty amount of damage. And I love the Volt Switch instead because you get this damage, but now an opportunity to pivot and bring something else in. Yeah, it's a nice play from Sejun. You're preserving the Miraidon for a little bit later, trying to get some utility out of this Farigiraf here. You've got the Armor Tail active, so preventing that Sucker Punch. But I like the play from Aaron. I think it's very brave. He's not really worried about getting knocked out with either of these Pokemon on the field. He's got the Focus Sash and the Chien-Pao. He's got the Zamazenta there. It's a pretty well defensive Pokemon. And utilizing these two to remove that big threat where you would imagine, body press into that slot, removing it, taking it off the table. Even if Farigiraf is going down on this turn, the Miraidon going out, you get a good amount of damage and you bring the Chi-Yu in. If you bring the Miraidon back in at this point, well, we just talked about the Sword of Ruin. Well, let's talk about this Chi-Yu and that Beads of Ruin. Those two Pokemon are going to be dealing a lot of damage. And with that Choice Scarf on that Chi-Yu, would have access to spread damage attacks. That's where Aaron then has to play that game of, do I commit to this wide guard or not? But that could be a lot of damage. It won't even be the Miraidon this turn. The Pachirisu has returned. Yeah, coming onto the field, going to have utility in that Follow Me. Just giving that protection that the Chi-Yu needs, because then it means that you don't need to commit to that terrestrialization. You keep that Dark and Fire typing because the Chien-Pao is not really threatening you too much. There's no Sacred Sword on that side of the field. And the big threat from that body press, you can pull into the Pachirisu, you can get some good damage and fire back with a Heat Wave, which is going to do super effective damage, probably pick up the Zamazenta and take that Chien-Pao down to its Sash. Also makes it difficult to bring the Rillaboom onto the field in this situation. So really nice play from Sejun, kind of putting that pressure a little bit further onto Aaron to make some sort of decision here. What's at least nice from Aaron, with having so many Pokemon that can protect, he can go and protect both of his Pokemon on this turn and scout out what this Chi-Yu wants to do and what it locks into. If it was a Heat Wave, you could have played Wide Guard the next time around, but instead, now you got that confirmation. It is the Overheat. The Pachirisu, an attempt on the offense here, Super Fang hitting into the Protect. Now that your choice locked, play around that a little bit, but at the same time, an Overheat can do a lot, and the Zamazenta would surely fall. Yeah, definitely fall, but you probably the one thing is it's so low health at this point. Do you say, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice my Zamazenta. I've got two Pokemon in the back. They can come in and maybe do a decent job, or do you preserve that Zamazenta, maybe switch it out and try and get some decent damage with that Chien-Pao onto the Pachirisu, onto that Chi-Yu? Problem doing that, if you go into the Pachirisu, you're inevitably breaking your Focus Sash because
it has got the Rocky helmet, so it does make it a little bit awkward. The way that Sejun is kind of positioning these Pokemon right now, making it very difficult for Aaron to kind of get that momentum swing or that control that he had in that game 1. So really well adjusted from Sejun.
It's going to be the follow me coming on out. No Terra, but redirecting all of the hits, being the center of attention as if it wasn't already, as overheat from Chiyu hitting into the Chien-Pao. Going to be bringing it right down to Sash. Now this Pachirisu is going to be taking a barrage of hits coming on out from both of these Pokemon, starting off with this Icicle Crash. Good chunk of damage, bringing it just down below half. The body press is going to be finishing it off. Critical hit. We're not enjoying this Pachirisu here. It will be a little bit of chip damage, but all of a sudden, Sejun down to final 2.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the Icicle Crash there, not a contact move, so the Chien-Pao keeping that focus, Ash, although taking a overheat for its trouble. The Chiyu now down to -2, so not going to be hitting as hard for the things that are in the back for Aaron. Aaron really looking on these last legs with these 2 Pokemon out in the field. But you've got to imagine the Chien-Pao probably got the ability to get at least 1 Sucker Punch off, but it's not really going to be very effective into that very Terra typing of the Miraidon, and you're not going to be able to get much use out of the Zamazenta just because of the speed jump that Chiyu has.
And even here, you don't have to get too far ahead of yourself if you don't want to. We do have the possibility, since you know it is Choice out on the other end, to go ahead with the Double Protect and just get that confirmation. The Miraidon, since we do have the Dazzling Gleam, it can go for these spread damage attacks as well, and you definitely don't want to be disrespectful of that. Chien-Pao is going to be the one protecting on this turn, as Aaron opted not to go and protect the other, but it is going to be a good call with the Chiyu first attempting to hit into that Ice Cat. Miraidon, Electro Drift time, hitting into these Zamazenta, already brought so low, going to take care of the other restricted.
Yeah, really nice play here, and then big knockout, taking the restricted down on Aaron's side of the field, locking in with that Electro Drift. A nice play as well. I think the one thing that we would say about Aaron is he's really managing this game well, in the fact that he's protecting at the right times, like you mentioned, to scout out what these choice Pokemon are locking into, because once you know what they're locked into, it makes the decisions about switching, about what you bring in at a certain time, and what move you lock into a lot easier. So we are going to see the NT come onto the field now, and it is going to threaten with extreme speed into both of these Pokemon. Whether or not Aaron decides to go for the Terrestrialization here, he has got it as an option, though.
What I really like, too, about protecting the Chien-Pao and that preservation is, since we are on the attack-heavy end for Aaron, it is something that you can do more and more damage. So you sack off your Zamazenta, you get this fresh Entei in, Terra normal, this extreme speed is going to do a lot of damage combined there with that sort of ruin, and the extreme speed coming on out. Since the Terrestrialization already spent for Sejun, you know that she is not going to be safe, and that's going to be a clean one-hit KO.
That is a huge knockout onto the Chiyu here, and like you say, that sort of ruin intact is so useful here. The Sucker Punch coming out from the Chien-Pao. They do respectable damage, not super effective though, more resisted, and the Electro Drift coming out and returns from the Miraidon into the Entei.
Wow.
It's one hit KO.
You see the look on Aaron's face? He
I think he might be a little out of steam when we're looking at Sejun's end, but the Miraidon definitely putting as much of a fight as possible. It's going to be finally time for the electricity to disappear if it wasn't going to already. As the Rillaboom, the 4th final Pokemon for Aaron, will finally be joining. The Assault Vest, getting that Grassy Surge. You got Mako Pressure on this turn. We can just hit whatever we want with this Chien-Pao. We should be able to lock this up.
Yeah, and you've got the Fake Out here, which is going to be really useful in preventing you from attacking this turn. It gives the Chien-Pao a free turn. Come for the Throat Chop here, not the most effective attack. You could lock into the Icicle Crash, but Aaron being sensible here, doesn't want to take the risk of an Icicle Crash missing and allowing maybe Sejun back into this game. The Electro Drift is still a big threatening attack. It hasn't got the boost from the Electric Terrain anymore, but you still need to close this up as sensibly as possible, and exactly what Aaron's done throughout this match with the Rillaboom, with that Assault Vest. Going to be in a really great place to do that.
The Grassy Glide's almost there, but the Throat Chop is going to be the one to seal the deal. As Aaron Zhang, the return to the biggest stage, is going to be claiming
the Legendary Cybertron
2-0.
Absolutely incredible play from Aaron. Said at the top of the game, hasn't played.
Thank you, Lee. Thank
See
you,
the
Sierra.
legend.
And thank you, Aaron Cybertron Zhang, for that amazing round 2 match. How are you feeling after that?
I'm back.
You are back, baby, for sure. The crowd know it as well as our spectators at home. I mean, you say you're back, so tell us, what does that mean? Because the last time we saw you on the competitive stage was 2017.
Yeah, you know, I played a couple regionals here and there, a couple of internationals, but I haven't played at Worlds since 2017. We've been lucky enough to cast together. I love casting so much, but you know, I've come so close to winning Worlds, and it's still a dream of mine. And it gets harder than ever, but I was like, I have to give myself another shot at least, right? And at the end of the day, competing at the highest level is just so exciting. You know, playing Sejun here, I was going to say win or lose, it's just such an honor to be able to go against, you know, the greatest of all time in this game. And so just taking it one round at a time, but I came back because I felt like, you know, I feel reinvigorated. There's a hunger, there's a fire in me again. So I'm just so happy to be here.
And not only were you against Sejun, but you were also against the legendary Pachirisu on that team, a decade on from its victory. Tell us a little bit about kind of the history you've had with Sejun in the competitive field.
Yeah, Sejun and I obviously go way back. He is probably my favorite player of all time. I looked up to so much of his team building back in the day, drew a lot of inspiration from his ideas. For example, Choice Specs Cresselia back in 2012, Liepard Breloom back in 2013. And I've had a lot of success, especially thanks to his creative team building. And so it was such an honor to fight against him. We actually almost fought in the semis of Worlds in 2013, but Sejun lost to Ryosuke that year. And you know, I've looked up to him for so long. I was really hoping we'd actually play at Worlds in 2014, the year he won. And so I was scared of Pachirisu, no lie, because I played so much against Miraidon, but I've never seen Miraidon with Pachirisu. I didn't know my damage calc super well. The Rocky Helmet was actually a little bit scary because it could break Chimpel's Focus Sash, which is really important in that matchup as well. But I think I just had so much offense and managed to bait out some Terras early on, which gave me a huge advantage in both games.
And you had a lot of offense with priority as well, which seemed to be kind of key for you in that match. You know, Chimpao and Entei with a lot of priority, but there was the Farigiraf on the other side. Was that maybe something that you saw in team preview and be like, I've got to play around this?
Yeah, I think it's why, for example, didn't go for Fake Out in game 1, turn 1. It's just a little bit scary if Farigiraf switches in and you lose Rillaboom immediately. That's a really bad trade. He had the Ghost Terror on Chiyu as well, which was scary. But game 2, as soon as Farigiraf went down, I knew I'd already had a huge advantage because not only did I bait the Terra out from the Miraidon, I also now just had access to all my priorities. So I knew going into that game, like, if I could eliminate Farigiraf quicker, then it just allowed for me to have more options. But even if Farigiraf stuck on the field, it wasn't like the end of the world. It just means that I can't just click Extreme Speed. And one of the things I was thinking about is like, oh yeah, Pachirisu can follow me, but I can still just Extreme Speed away from that. And so, turn 1, game 2, like, played out perfectly. I already knew I was in a really good spot from there.
And as well, one thing you mentioned Sejun's kind of creativity, and we saw this kind of combination with Miraidon and Chiyu, a little bit like Fluttermane and Chiyu used to be back in the day. That can deal out a huge amount of power. You mentioned you've got a lot of offense on your team, but did you have the defense, like, were you confident in the defensive capabilities too?
I think it's really scary for a term, but the advantage is that I have, like, he's using choice Pokemon and I'm not, and I have Protect on a lot of Pokemon, so being able to scout out, being able to have one defensive pivot like I did on game 1, turn 1 was a really big deal as well. So it's really scary because you're staring down 2 really fast Pokemon, but as soon as Terra Ghost came up from Chiyu, I'm like, okay, Chimpao immediately is a win condition from now on because I can hit both Miraidon and Chiyu for super effective damage, which is a really big deal. So definitely scary, but the fact that you can't protect either slot and the fact you have to lock into a move, and like you have to be so careful of your Sejun because if you click your spread moves, I can just start wide guarding with Zamazenta. So you can see why he was probably hesitant to not click Heat Wave or Dazzling Gleam. And so I think being able to just weather the storm for 1 turn is a big deal, and that's what happened in game 1.
I mean, it sounds like you have so much flexibility in that team, so kudos on the team building. Obviously, as you've said, this is kind of your big kind of comeback, and maybe some advice for some newer players or trainers maybe looking at this World Championships and saying, hey, I want to be there one day. What advice would you give to trainers in terms of prep and kind of how to get world ready?
I think you just got to get started. I always tell people, you know, Pokemon is such a difficult game. You just got to play a lot of games and try out a lot of different things. Don't be afraid of losing. Like, I think the best tool in this game is actually losing a lot because if you're able to analyze your losses and learn from them, it's such a valuable tool. Even the best players in the world are losing all the time in practice, you know, and Worlds itself is also such a difficult tournament, but just take it kind of one step at a time. Don't be afraid to get started. Nowadays, there's just so many amazing resources there are out there to get into the game, and I think there's such a wonderful community as well. So just take that first step, you know, pick up a rental team, start playing some games, meet your local community, watch some content that's out there. I know a channel out there in particular that you might want to check out, and you know, just get started, I think, and don't be afraid. I think that's the main thing. You're going to lose a lot when you play this game, but that's okay. You need to fall in love with it.
I think that's solid advice as well, considering we've been in Hawaii before and there were maybe trainers starting out their journey back then and are now, you know, on this world stage doing incredibly well. We'll let you go get rested before the next round, but beforehand, are there any shout outs, anyone you'd like to thank for this journey?
Yeah, I just want to thank the entire team for putting on this event. I want to thank, you know, Hawaii and this convention center and the great land here and all the people here for giving us, you know, the access to be able to play here in this beautiful place. Thank you to all my fans, whether you've been a fan of me as a competitor from a long time ago, as a commentator, as a content creator. this community has meant the world to me, and so it's just such an honor to be on this stage, win or lose. I don't know how the rest of the weekend will go, but it's just so great to be playing Pokemon at such a high level again, and so I'll do my best for all of you. But thanks to everyone for the support, and thank you to Pokemon and everyone here.
Brilliant. Well, you can definitely count me as one of those fans as well. Huge congratulations, Aaron. Best of luck in the rest of the tournament. For you guys at home, though, we're going to go to a short break and then be back to
the legend.
Pokemon World action very soon.
Can't wait for D2.